Good evening, everyone. Calling the Board of Appeals for the Town of Wilmington meeting on July 14th, 2021. It's exactly 7 o'clock. We have two matters on the docket. The first is a continued case from our June 9th meeting, case 1621, John J. McKenna Esquire for map A90, parcel 10, 1621, 31 Arlene Ave to acquire a variance to construct a garage 10 feet from the side setback where 20 feet is required. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
How are you? Can you both introduce yourselves, please?
My name is John McKenna. My office is at 572 Boston Road, Billerica, Mass. I'm the attorney for the applicant.
Got it.
I'm David Bornstein, owner of the property.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, so where are we at, fellas?
We're here seeking a variance from the side setback. It's section 5.2.5 of the zoning bylaws, which requires a 20-foot side setback. Mr. Bornstein is recently going to retire within the next month, and he desires to build a garage on his house. But due to the soil conditions in the back, there's a 20-foot setback from the wetlands that does not allow the garage to go behind the property. The location of the existing structure is such that it's not in the middle of the property, but a little bit to the right, and the driveway is to the right. So the only place he could put it, he scaled it down to a 20-foot wide garage by 36, is over to the right where the existing driveway is, so it would be 10 foot off the side. The soil conditions create a hardship.
Are you saying the soil because of the wetland
The
situation?
wetland situation, that's correct. So there's a 20-foot setback as shown on the plan, and that's the limit to where it can go. He's desiring to retire, and in doing so, this garage is essential for him to be able to keep busy in his retirement, to tinker around in the garage and have a place to go. Why don't you tell him a little bit about what you're retiring from and what your plans for the garage
Well,
are?
years back, I was a farmer, came back down to the city to help my family. We're in public warehousing up in Lawrence presently. Started originally in Wilmington. And I do all the maintenance, repairs on the buildings and all of that. And over the years, I've gathered quite a bit of carpentry tools. I enjoy doing carpentry, looking to make some furniture and one thing or another. And originally, I was looking for a 26 by 40 garage. And the property, there's just no way that's going to happen. And I ended up scaling it back and scaling it back. And that's because of the wetlands, how it comes up on my neighbor's land. I ended up coming forward more than I wanted to. I wanted to keep it flush with that little room that extends off the house now and just go back. But it's just no space to put it there with the wetlands. You know, that 50-foot buffer, you can't touch
Kelly,
it.
has planning weighed in on the revised plan?
Sorry.
The one other point I want to make, Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
is he talked to his neighbor, who was immediately affected by the neighbor to the right, and
Yep.
he didn't have an issue with the garage. He felt that was,
I've spoken to all but one neighbor who I've never met, and no one has any problems or complaints at all.
So planning commented back in June, the applicant should provide additional information to document a soil hardship. There doesn't appear to be a wetland setback hardship on the other side of the home, as the Conservation Commission typically requires a residential structure to be set back 25 feet from the wetlands.
But that was on the original submission?
Correct, yes. I
Have
didn't
they-
get.
Have they opined on the revised?
They have not,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Would you like to add anything else? I mean, you can chime in at any point, but what I usually do is I open it up to the board for comment or any questions, then I open up the public hearing, close the public hearing, then bring it back to the board for
Well, we're
deliberation.
actually into the wetlands if you put the same structure on the other side of the house with no access to a driveway.
Right.
You know, and I don't think anybody wants to put a second driveway in there.
Sure.
yeah. Just, the buffer actually extends out further because the wetlands come, there's a finger of wetlands that comes further out on the neighboring property. So the wetlands is more of an issue on the left side. The buffer is such that you couldn't even put one even further back.
Right, gotcha.
He
That's
has,
if you adhere to the 50-foot buffer.
I'm sorry,
That's only if you adhere to the 50-foot buffer.
right, that's
which-
correct.
Which Valerie said could potentially be as little as 25 feet.
If you request it from them, yeah.
Because my original plan was to set it back and partially behind the house. But everybody said you can't go into the 50-foot.
And where the existing driveway is now, you'd have to expand the driveway to go back and around as well. Just suits itself to that side of the house compared to the other side of the house. And where there's an existing garden, here's an extensive garden out there, which for many years of work there. This is the apropos or the best spot for this small garage on the side. To keep
Anybody
it-
have any questions or comments?
So the neighbor that you said you didn't contact, are they direct abutters?
Correct. The Granoviches there, that would be going right towards their property.
Yeah, is there any reason why you didn't knock on their door, or?
Oh, I suppose no.
He
The
spoke to
fellow
that neighbor.
directly across the street is the only one. And
That's the one I'm talking about, the one you didn't contact.
I've never seen the man. They just moved in last
They're
fall,
across the street, or?
directly across the street, yes.
They, Tom, just so you know, they would have been notified by mail
Yeah,
that that he wants to do this, because it's 300 feet of butters get
Yeah.
notified,
okay.
so he would have
Yeah.
known.
And then the second question is, that's an awful big garage. What do you plan to do in there when you retire?
Carpentry work mostly. Eventually, I'd like to get my
Yeah.
vehicle in there.
Nothing commercial or anything like
Oh,
that?
no. I
Yeah,
don't do any of that.
okay, that's all I had.
Anybody else?
So I had a question. Have you given any thought to, instead of a 2-car garage, just do a 1-car garage?
10-foot wide garage?
Well, that isn't, if I made it 26-foot wide, I was only gonna put one garage door in. I've got a number of table saws, planers, edges, all the work for carpentry.
So this 20-foot, it's for a 1-car garage?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You're 10 feet, typically a lane in a driveway is about 12 feet, so you need to be able to open your doors. 10 feet would be very narrow, and this is more for, maybe get a car in, but more to have his working tools in there and to be able to have it as a hobby place for him to keep busy as well as just having one car in there. But 10 feet is not typical width of a garage. This is a small garage.
And so you don't believe that you can put the garage on the other side?
No, to do that, you'd have to put another driveway in, and he didn't want to go in the
And
wetland
actually-
buffer. We understand you could file for a variance to do that, to go before the conservation. You'd have to go before the conservation anyways at this point. But this is the best spot for a garage, given that the driveway's located there.
Anybody else?
I would feel differently if there wasn't another option on the site. I just think I think the left side of the house is a viable option. I mean, you call it a workshop. Workshop doesn't have to be a garage. You could put a very large workshop on the other side of the house. You don't have to have a driveway to a workshop. You could have a stone path or whatever, or you move the driveway. I mean, I just, if there were no other alternatives on the site, I might feel a little bit differently, but I think you have other options on the site. They're not great, listen, they're gonna cost money, they're not ideal, but you have another option to put structure on the site. And I just don't,
Can't go that far now, unless I change the 40 foot on the front of the house because of the wetland. the 50-foot buffer.
Well, I think based on the comments from the planning director, if you wanted to go 40 feet from the wetlands, it sounds like there's a very viable, very good possibility that they will approve that. So I don't, like I said, I don't think that I don't think that you've exhausted the other options on the
So
site yet.
we would have to go to the Conservation Commission and request a variance from the buffer zone,
I don't,
is what you recommend?
I don't-
Going to them for a
No.
variance first?
I didn't say that, I just said that
Well,
I.
I'm a little confused.
I said that the other side of the site looks like you can fit a very generous-sized garage over there, given the fact that the planning director in her comments stated that on residential structures, they don't hold, she does not typically hold residential structures to the 50-foot setback. So I think that, this happened before on another project a couple of months ago. It was a swimming pool. She had the same exact comment, and that they don't hold the 50 feet to residential structures. You have to go there and you have to ask her.
So we should go to we shouldn't, with regards to this, we saw our plan showing that the wetland buffer comes way up here towards the house, and it's further back here. So we felt that it would be less impact on this side, given the fact that the driveway's here. That's why we put it on this side. But the buffer zone extends over here, so it's like 25 feet could even be like right in this area here. So that's why we looked at this side, and this is already has the driveway in there for the garage. It's gonna be used as a workshop, but it's also gonna be used as a garage. He wants to get a vehicle in there as well, so it's not just a shed. This is the most viable spot for his garage.
It might be, but I think it's more viable to get relief from the wetlands than it is to get a variance to put it closer to, put a structure closer to the setback. That's just my opinion.
If I move that garage back 25 feet and away so that I didn't go into that 20-foot setback, more or less partially behind the house, that'd be acceptable, you think, with the wetland people?
I'm only going by her comment that,
Can I see her comment?
Dan-
We didn't get a
Dan read.
copy of her comment.
Actually, Kelly has.
Yeah, it's really just a memo in her office.
Oh, it
It's right
doesn't
here.
go to the public.
No, it doesn't.
The applicant should provide additional information.
I mean, my original thought is I didn't even want to detach the house. I would have liked to put it back. Everybody told me with the wetlands at 50 foot, you can't touch them.
Yeah, it sounds to me like she would allow for a 25-foot setback from the wetlands. But again, that's
You
something.
can't speak for her.
Right, you'd have to ask her.
When I was going through the process, I talked to Cameron in the conservation part, and he told about that, and I asked about the garden and this, and he said it's better to, move it away from the wetlands. He wouldn't have an issue with the garden, because I didn't know if he could even have a garden in the buffer zone. He said that's a good use for that area. Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
When we were going through this process, he came to me back in like February, and I spoke to the conservation director, to Cameron, and he indicated, I talked about there's a garden in the backyard there, and he said that's an okay use in the buffer zone. I didn't know if he would have to take that out. And he also indicated it's better to stay as far away from the wetlands as you can. Of course, he's a conservation director. But if you want us to go back to the planning director and seek all our alternatives, I mean, we want to work with
I
the
can't speak
town
for
as
everybody,
well.
but it sounds to me like there are some questions from the board. As you're well aware, council, variances are harder to obtain, and it's no different with this board. If my own opinion is, if you had no other spot you could put it in because of the wetland situation, I would be probably inclined to grant it. But since, the hardship means it has to be here, you can't go anywhere else on the property.
Well, even on that other side, I can't get the same square footages. I've reduced my desires already.
Right, but you indicated, sir, that you might be amenable to taking it back off the 20 and putting it behind the house?
Partially behind the house, staying off that 20-footer and setting it back that was kind of my original plan, and everybody said, no, 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 you can't go into that.
Well,
50.
if conservation has indicated that they wouldn't hold your feet to the fire on the 50-foot setback, then that may be an option.
It's not the first time that the planning director has made that comment to this board. She's made it multiple times. So I think it's worth you looking at that, because I think will have much better options.
I think we should go back to the drawing board and request a continuance.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
talk to them.
if you move forward and you don't prevail, you're
We're
gonna
not gonna
be
prevail, we know
precluded.
that, because we don't have the votes. So I think what we should do is go talk to the conservation director, the planning director, Valerie Gendrich, who's a very nice lady, and see what we can do with that.
Yeah, I mean-
Typical of my experience as a zoning attorney, the variances typically come from the Board of Appeals and not from the conservation. They wanna keep it away from the conservation. But these buffer zones, it used to be it just was the wetland line. Now everybody, the state has a 25-foot buffer, and then every town has a different buffer. This here's a 50-foot buffer, but in this town, it's a little bit more leeway. In other towns, there's no leeway at all, like Westford, Billerica, Chelmsford's a little bit more leeway. I know it's a hard process, and you're under a timeline, but you have to do it right.
Oh, yeah, no, that part I understand, and
So
like I
given the
said, I'm not
discussion with
adverse
this,
to
with
pushing
this,
it back
given the
and behind
discussion here,
house.
Mr. Chairman, I think it would be best if we requested a continuance to make sure we have all our options open.
I think that might be,
And speak to Valerie.
Freight trailers to put my
Here,
stuff in.
hold on a second.
yeah, I think that might be a good idea, because it's gonna give you an opportunity to perhaps pursue an avenue that up until just now you weren't necessarily aware was
Right.
open.
We weren't aware that it was open at all, given the 50-foot setback was even further on this side, and given the fact that the driveway wasn't there, it seemed like it wasn't an option at all. When I first got involved, I walked the site to see if there was other areas that he can put it, including that, and it just didn't seem like it was viable. I don't know if you have this plan in the file, but it shows that the wetlands comes further out on the right side than on the left side. So that's why we went over there, and given that the driveway was there. But if there's some way we can put that over on that side, certainly we'll go and speak to the conservation director and the planning director, to Valerie and to Cameron, and see what we can do on that other side. Or even on this side, if he wants to use that driveway and put it in the back.
I mean, it can't hurt, just a little time is all you're gonna
Yeah.
lose.
So given that fact, I would request a continuance to the next meeting, and then if we get that information, we come back with a new plan, we can withdraw this
Do
application.
you
And
think
if
you'll be
this
able
is-
to get all that done by the next meeting?
I think within 30 days, I'd have a chance to speak to Valerie and to them and to see what our options are, and then at least know if we're gonna withdraw it or to say why we're gonna proceed with this plan. Would at least have all that information and decisions that we made, given the information that's provided from the town. I think 30 days would be sufficient. Is that when your next meeting is, Kel?
Yes.
So I'll make a motion to continue case 16-21. Do you want the location 31 Arlene Ave?
Until the
Yeah,
next
just
meeting.
reference the case number is probably good. So you're making a motion to continue it to our next meeting, which is the 11th, Kelly?
August 11th.
August 11th. All right, do we have a second on that?
I'll second.
Ray seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you very
Okay.
much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your input, and we'll come
I
back
think-
with more
And I
information.
think if, just one comment to you guys, I think if you do look at putting it on the same side of the house, tucking it behind the house, you could build something really nice there that's almost like almost like a barn. It's like with a little link to the house or something. I think you have a lot of opportunities to do something there that would really be nice.
No
So
problem doing that.
so I think you have a lot of opportunities there.
We appreciate your input. I think it's been very helpful to the homeowner. Thank you very much.
No problem, fellas, have a great night.
Okay, have a good night.
Thank you.
All right, good night, sir. The next case on the docket is case 1821, Anna and Andrew Etherington.
Pronounced it right, that's what
Wow, okay. Map 44, parcel 120, 25 Taplin Avenue, to request a special permit for the groundwater protection district under 6.6.7.7.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi, I'm
What's your-
Anna.
What?
Anna Etherington.
Hi, Anna, how are you?
I am doing well. My husband's putting the toddler to bed, so he isn't here today.
Okay. Well, it looks like it looks pretty straightforward. Why don't you just give us briefly what you're looking for tonight?
Sure. So we are rebuilding our garage. We want to replace our existing, it's like an oversized one car with a 2-car garage, because we need the extra space. So we realized that we're in a groundwater protection zone. So what we're going to do is we spoke with the town engineer, and we're going to put in I believe it's called a recharge system underground to pull the water from the gutters for the garage and part of the house, to keep us within the pervious to impervious requirements.
Great. And do we have a recommendation from the town engineer, Kelly?
Yep, a planning calculation has been provided to the engineering division that demonstrate the infiltration, best management practices, and they feel that should be granted for the above parcel.
And planning, did they chime in on it?
As well, same. To recommend approval, groundwater recharge is proposed to mitigate the impervious area in the groundwater protection district.
Okay, recommended and approved by both planning and engineering. Does the board have any questions of the applicant? No. I'll open the public hearing. Sir, do you wish to be heard on this?
I'm just listening in. She's a next-door neighbor of mine. and,
Okay. Do you wish to make any comment or
well,
questions
the
on it?
comment is, I think, the reason why there's a question about water is because the property, I live on Weiser Street, and she lives on Taplin. And the people in the neighborhood told me that back in, even before 1982, that there used to be a lot of water that would collect on the corner of Weiser and Taplin. And during the winter, the kids were able to go ice skating. And that was quite frequent, because the kids, that's what they told me. And so since I've been there and all the work's been done on 129 Bridge, there's never been any water on my property, the corner of Weiser and Taplin and whatever. It's been very dry. And nobody's ever said anything about water as far as that property is concerned. And there are about 5 or 6 people, well, 5 or 6, what do you call it now, folks that have moved in there and moved out. So, as far as I know, water, if that's what the case is, it's about water, right, in the property?
No, well, first of all, sir, what's your name and address, just for the
Alfred
record?
Lamothe, 16 Weiser Street.
Okay, what they're seeking to do is to do some work on the property, but under our groundwater protection regulations, you need to replace the water that if you cover up something with an impervious substance, you need to find a way to recharge that water back into the aquifer. It's an environmental issue. It's not, we're not talking about excess water or it's more of, you want to put back into the ground what you're taking from another area of the land. The engineers looked at it, and the engineers said that their plans for recharge are appropriate. He's recommending approval. So this isn't an issue where,
Increasing surface water.
yeah, surface water. This is just recharging. So if you put a driveway in with impervious material, you need to find a way to make up that impervious area on another area in your property, and you do it by different engineering methods and recharge methods. So she's come up with a plan. The engineer has taken a look at it and said that he deems it appropriate. So,
Okay, thank you.
do you have any other objections to it? Or? Okay. So I'll close the public hearing. I'll bring it back to the board in case anyone wants to make additional comment or a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve case 18-21 to request a special permit for the groundwater protection district, section 6.6.7.7.
Do we have a second on that?
I'll second.
We have a second by Mr. Lepore. All those in favor? There
Aye.
you go.
Thank you.
Tell your husband you did a great job.
All right, I will.
Take the rest of the night.
We'll be asleep, so it'll be
Yeah, there you
fine.
go.
All right, take care. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so other than that,
So I
do we have minutes?
Yep, we have minutes from May, June, and July.
Has everybody had the opportunity to review the minutes? Does anybody have any objection to the minutes or anything they wish to add to the minutes? All right, so why don't we just take them one at a time? What month are we starting with?
May?
Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes of May 2021?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Santini. All those in favor? Unanimous. And now we're on to June. Do we have a
Make a
motion?
motion.
Motion to approve the minutes of June 2021. Do we have a
You
second?
here?
Which one? Last week? I mean, the
June.
last.
Last month, we were
In
not here,
June.
right? You were out.
June. What are we,
Can you look at the minutes?
Oh,
That's
that's
true,
the
he was
last.
out.
the
Okay.
20
Sorry.
Yes, that's
So you'll
right.
withdraw your
Yes.
motion. Does somebody else want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the June meetings.
Okay. Second by Tom.
That's the only meeting
All those in
I've
favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Unanimous, 4-0, 1 abstention. And then July. Was everybody present in July? Okay. Anyone?
That's good.
And you can make the July one if you want.
Okay.
All right. Ms. Lepore
Second.
makes a motion, seconded by Ms. Santini. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, 5-0. Okay, is there anything else, Jackie, that we need to, Kelly, that we need to go
Doesn't
through?
overtime.
I do it all the time. I do it all the
That's
time.
whatever. I just have the decision for Taplin that we
Oh,
just did.
sure. I don't have to mail them
Right,
anymore.
exactly, we're back.
I always wondered what they thought when they see like the law office email, mail come in.
Yeah, right, I do it every time, I'm like,
Throw
oh
away, we
God,
don't-
what's this?
Nobody likes to get a letter from a law office. Okay, there you go.
Perfect, that's it.
All right, other than that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn to our next meeting of August 11th, if
Motion
anyone
to
wants to move.
adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn, seconded by Mr. Syracuse. All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.